6 games on a Sunday. Let's break them all down. It finishes off week 11. A Jonathan Kuminga injury update. Wild lines. Big bench scoring games. Crazy stuff. Michael Bolton, you're the conductor. Let's get moving.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed. Nick,
you are Locked On Fantasy.
Let's jump on
your
the Bolton
daily
train.
NBA fantasy
Bolton
podcast.
We talked about it.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and on this show we obey the law of thermodynamics. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. The NFL playoffs are here, and you can get yourself $200 in bonus bets. Easy. Just place a $5 bet on FanDuel at FanDuel.com and get those $200 in bonus bets right now. Go and also check out LockedOnDaily.com and find the best NBA newsletter for your favorite team. It's stuffed full of info and it's stuffed into your inbox 5 days a week. So get across there and sign it up. If you're here, you might as well sign up to this, and that's by subscribing and following and leaving reviews and comments and checking out the live trade deadlines show on Thursday, February the 6th. I think 1 p.m. Eastern, we're going live. Check it out, YouTube channel, bookmark it, stick it in your diaries. All right, we are here to talk Sunday. Waiver wire show already today. The Monday preview show is already cracked on. And it is, of course, here in Australia, it's Monday the 6th of January, which is National Cuddle Update. So if you happen to see me outside today, come up and give me a cuddle. Cuddle up, snuggle in. I'm a big guy. You might get a little bit of goodness out of it. Get in there. National Cuddle Update. Only today, though. All right, we're ready to talk about the games. Well, actually, no, we're not. We're not, Josh, because we've got to just talk quickly about a little bit of news, a few updated things that we've got to cover off, as apparently I just forget to bring them up on the screen. You know how we go. This is better. We got a Kuminga timetable. We did get a Kuminga timetable on his ankle sprain. It's at least 3 weeks. They said it was significant. That is significant. I talked about how he'd been the second most dropped player on Yahoo earlier today, which seemed, again, early. It seemed hasty, and also said, why don't you guys have IL spots or IL plus spots or whatever? That was weird. Now, if you are in the same spot of those thousands and thousands of people who dropped Kuminga already, and you don't have IL spots, like Kuminga's not good enough to hold through a lengthy timetable like that. We'll talk about the Warriors and the Kuminga replacement stuff later today because they played in the final game of the day. So we'll talk more about that then. We've got a weird injury designation in Portland. We know that Jeremy Grant's face is just, it's messed. It must be so bad, his face. I don't know what it is, but there is something wrong with his face. He's out again. And then we got the one that set people off, and yeah, we knew it would, because DeAndre Ayton was listed as questionable for rest. And that's clear garbage. It's clearly ridiculous. I don't know why DeAndre Ayton would need rest. I don't know why on a non-back-to-back we're listing him for rest. I honestly have no idea what the purpose of that was. It was ludicrous. I hope if the league's going to fine the Hawks for Trae Young missing a game due to an Achilles soreness issue, then surely there needed to be some sort of at least conversation had, because about an hour later, the new injury report came out and he was changed to probable with rest. So he is playing. Now we are seeing the Utah Jazz pull out all the stops to lose games already. Brooklyn's going to be doing it. I think Washington's going to be doing it, and Portland is going to be doing it as well. But that's egregious to me. I defend some of the practices of what teams do quite often, but this, which January the 5th, you absolutely... All you need to do is tell Chauncey Billups to coach to the best of his ability, and you're going to have a pretty good chance of losing. What this does is Ayton's going to play, right? No problem. Ayton will play on Monday. Don't worry about that. But it shows their hands. It shows their hand of what they are doing. We know, and we knew this all along. That's why I've said all this time, March, April, Jeremy Grant's not going to play. Anthony Simons is going to play. I don't know. Ayton played last year. Who knows? But if they're already throwing him out there now, shenanigans have begun in Portland. I think. I'm pretty sure that's what that indicates to me. If Memphis wasn't good, you'd say shenanigans were starting there, because now Desmond Bane is doubtful with an ankle sprain. Jar's out, Smart's out, Aldama's out. Clark out the other day, LaRavia was out, Conchar was out, Kennard is out. Conchar's back, by the way. Kennard still is out. And now Bane is doubtful. Bro, who is going to do anything on this team? Pippen, yes. Conchar has to be back into the mix. Lil Jon. Because who else is there? Laravia. Just another frustrating situation with the worst in class medical staff in the NBA, maybe. And then in Brooklyn, I didn't get any clarity at all. Because the clarity we wanted was, hey, what's going to happen with D'Angelo Russell and Ben Simmons? Simmons late scratch with a calf. Russell left the game with a shin contusion. Oh, well, let's get some clarity. How can we... No, they're both questionable. So I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to play. I do know that this team is going to be annoying all the way through with a Keon Johnson, Zaire Williams, Jalen Wilson. You're going to get minutes from the pimple at some point. You get Noah Clowney jumping in there. Unfortunately, Jackie Chue tore his ACL, so I'm not going to see that. We're going to get the two Martins. My favorite Martin, in fact. Shout out to Chris Berman. We're going to have like Tyrese and Jalen Martin competing for minutes at some point. It's going to be a mess. Like a very, very big one. Should we talk games? Let's do the first game. It is honestly an absolute cracker of a game between two unbelievably good teams, the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And in the end, the Thunder just said, we're too good, I'm so sorry. We're going to cook you. And they did. The score was 105-92. The Thunder just put the clamps on in the second half, and they get it done. For the Celtics, Jaylen Brown was back. So he started with slamming Sammy Hauser out. They basically, and all of these teams, not all of this, these two teams basically we're doing full playoff rotations here. So when we're looking at things, and there's obviously a big, absolute like dogs balls type thing we've got to talk about in this game, but these teams just went incredibly hard. They wanted to show the other team up, and they just went playoff rotations. Tatum played 39. He had 26 and 10. We had Jaylen Brown playing 40 with the shoulder issue, 21 and 3 with the 111. Derek White played 37, 11, 4 and 4 with 3 blocks. Bad shooting night. That's what happens when you play the Thunder very often. Drew Holiday played 34 minutes, which for him is a lot, and we thought maybe he was getting back on track, 2 points. But he didn't. He did have 8 rebounds and 6 assists, so in categories we're still holding. But what happened very clearly in this one is that Peyton Pritchard was not it. And you'll say, what on earth could have happened to Pritchard? He's been great. He's been carrying my team. He's been 6th man of the year. That's all great. And I don't know when I mentioned this. I did talk about it on the show at some point. I said all this about Pritchard, but I actually got him ranked like 130th the rest of the season because there's a lot of the stuff that he's doing shooting-wise where I'm not fully buying in. And in this game, he played 11 minutes. He went scoreless. He missed 5 of his shots. And basically, Sneaky Joe just went, nah. They're not going in. We will come back the next day and we'll see where we go. So that's eye-opening. Now, he's been averaging 30 minutes a night, Pritchard. He's been great. He's been shooting the absolute lights out at any point. He's been dominating. But when push came to shove, he struggled, and Missoula said, absolutely not, get out. I'm not saying that you drop Pritchard at all. If you're in a 10-team league, you don't drop Pritchard, I don't believe. But he's 139th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. He's only 120. Actually, you know what? If you're in a 10-team points league, you don't hold Peyton Pritchard. He's not that good. He's 122nd now with 11 weeks of red-hot production. So he's not actually a must roster in that format. And I do believe, I don't know for sure, but I do believe we might be having a discussion in 2 weeks' time where it's like, yeah, he's now in the 3-point streaming Max Strus conversation of a guy that you don't necessarily have to roster. Now, I'm not saying that about Pritchard right now, but my projections have him in that sort of an area because so much of what he was doing to begin the season was very, very, very elevated. Porzingis had 19 and 9. He only played the 29 minutes, still dealing with the ankle problem. Let's look on the other side of things. The Oklahoma City actually trotted out the same starting lineup, and this is again where we see that it is playoff rotation. You know how I know that? Cason Wallace played 35 minutes. And that is again enlightening. It's illuminating. Now, still we're treating him like a steals stream guy because that's what he is. He is one of the best steals guys out there. 2 steals for him here. 13, 3 and 2, shot the ball okay. Like, that's fine. It's not must roster, but it's in the mix. And they also lent heavily into Lou Dort. 39 minutes for Dorter. 14 and 6, 4 threes, a steal and a block. Both these guys, Dort didn't shoot well, but we sort of know what they are. They're continually in this mix and leads further credence to my idea that threes and steals, you can just stream these categories in to a large degree. You can win these categories by streaming. Hartenstein had 8 and 10 with 3 blocks and 2 steals in 35. Shea was great again, 33, 11 and 6, 3 steals and 2 blocks. But I was going to say I think I'm going to devote a bit of time to Jalen Williams on the Buy Low show coming up, but I'm also not sure that I am because I think I talked about him last week as a Buy Low guy. But this is getting to the stage where, and I know we've had this discussion in the Basketball Monster forums as well, where people go, man, if my player was slumping and he was still as good as Jalen Williams, I wouldn't be that worried. maybe should be. Like, maybe we should start to be getting a little bit concerned about what's going on here with the Bronco, because let's talk about what Williams did in this game. He played 35 minutes and he had 10 points and he shot 30% and he had 1 steal and 0 blocks with 6 rebounds and 5 assists. And that's not good enough. And I've mentioned it many times on the channel and I'll mention it again now. What I do in the background, and sometimes I tweet these graphs out, is I have, the way that I do it, -1 per game weighted rankings for category leagues. I take a sample of those rankings every single day, just looking back, what happened in the previous 14 days. It's my rolling 2-week rank. So every day I'm looking, what happened the last 2 weeks? 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 Yes, I've been doing that. If we talk about what Jalen Williams sits in that, well, since December the 19th, the 2 weeks prior to December 19th, he was 100th. And here are his rolling 2-week ranks since then. 86th, 99th, 97th, 112th, 112th, 113th, 121st, 117th, 124th, 101st, 101st, 105th, 107th, 96th, 107, 105. And I don't know what it will be after today. But that's a prolonged slump. That is a 3-week period where, again, but that's also looking 2 weeks back. So that's 5 weeks, basically, of form where it hasn't been very good. We're not dropping Jalen Williams, but you can't ignore that. That is 5 weeks. December 19th, 2 weeks before, all those rankings pushing forward as I hit the mic. It hasn't been good at all. And yeah, we have to be a little bit worried about that, I think. I don't know. We are not doing anything with it. And I still think there is a buy low there, but it's not very good. Aaron Wiggins had 15 in his 20 minutes. Not much else going on there in that game, but I thought that the Pritchard stuff and the Jalen Williams stuff deserved a little bit of extra attention. Today's episode, it is brought to you by Prize Picks, and as basketball season heats up, and again, if you've got a problem with the NBA product, just go watch that game. Watch those two teams play. Like, they were unbelievable. There's no better way, though, when you're watching basketball to get in on the action, the real money action, with Prize Picks. You can just get in there, use your knowledge, use your enjoyment of the game to get some money in and maybe get a win. It's so simple. There are so many stats there. There's points and rebounds and assists, and you know how basketball stats work. You're playing fantasy, of course, but all you do is pick more or less on at least 2 individual playout projection numbers. You stick them into a lineup and you can win up to 1,000 times your money back, and it's so easy to do. You can do this in under 60 seconds, and if you win and when you win, well, you can get it cashed out in under 15 minutes, as often 15 minutes. And they've also got the flex play option. So if one of your picks does not hit, well, you can still get double your money back. So download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That is right. There is no need to win to get that bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's do the second game of the day. We're talking Pelicans and Wizards in Washington. The Pelicans go up there and get the win. All right, so with the Pelicans, we'll start with the bad news here. Well, they did trot out the same lineup in this one, but Trey Murphy got hurt. Now, not before he was able to put up some big numbers. He was cooking the Wizards in this one. He played 29 minutes. He had 22 and 9 with 4 threes, 2 steals, a block, shot 19 times. I believe he led the team in usage. He had 29% usage. Well, that's not true. Jordan Hawkins had 39% usage, actually. He took 10 shots in 12 minutes. They didn't go in, but he did take them. But Murphy was unbelievable again. He'd sprained his ankle a couple of times, I think, already this season. I expected he missed his time here. Who the replacement's going to be? I'm not sure it's going to matter massively. I think you'll get a little bit more BJ. I think you'll get a little bit more Hawkins. I think you'll get more Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. But I don't think it's going to be enough where you go, man, absolutely must roster this guy, because Herb will shift up. They'll just mix and match guys in. And they've got it now with Alvarado, Robinson-Earl, Boston, Hawkins, and literally Zion Williamson might return in a game or two. It's not likely, but it is possible. And that would just eliminate any of that stuff. And when you don't really have an idea of who's going to be the guy or where the value sits, when it could get wiped out in one game, I just usually won't bother with it. Yves Missi played 33 minutes, 16 and 7 with 3 blocks, elite 8 of 8 from the line, 80% from the field. Love all of that. And Jones did his thing. 38 minutes from Herbalife. He had 2 steals and 2 blocks and 11 points. Exactly what you would want from Herb Jones. DeJounte Murray continues his streak of being a terrible shooter. What is going on with this guy? 36% from the field. He had 14, 10, and 12. And the 10 and 12 is great. But he just has not been able to shoot at all in New Orleans. Now, that does not mean that he will continue to be a bad shooter. He is not a good shooter. He's had a couple of outlier solid shooting seasons, but he's not a good shooter. He is just bad at the moment. I expect that he improves pretty significantly from where we're at. But man, at some point, turn it around, mate. CJ McCollum also, there's always going to be something weird with what he does. He was dreadful to start the year. 50 points in the last one, dropped 25 here with 6 threes. That's great. But then why does he not hit free throws anymore? 1 of 2 from the line. 3 assists only. Like, he's fine. He's been very good lately. But still, this is the perfect sell high moment on the back of like 70 plus points in 2 games. I think you move on as best you can. Alvarado's not anything more than a steal streamer. He had 2 of them, but he played 12 minutes. Like I said, Hawkins had 6 points on 10 shots, which is unbelievable. And Robinson Earl, 3 in 10, and BJ had 5 points in his 19 minutes. We will look at the Wizards side of things because they also had an injury because Jordan Poole was out again with, I don't know if that's legit or not, whatever. Not my business to speculate on necessarily. Maybe it is my business. But he was out with that hip problem that had bothered him a while ago, and Malcolm Brogdon started. And wouldn't you know it, but Malcolm Brogdon got hurt again. 4 points, 15 minutes, 5 assists, 29% shooting for Brogdon. What I've said all along with Brogdon, I don't believe how could they possibly have it in their brain that they should start him over the younger guys. But if he plays 28 minutes, he's a must-roster player until he gets hurt. Well, there you go.
Get that garbage out of here.
They're calling it a foot issue, so I don't know, but it's Malcolm Brogdon. Bye. That means Bub Carrington got to do more. 34 minutes, 16, 7, and 4 with 4 threes. Probably his best game that we've seen in a while. Now, it did take 67% shooting to get there, which is 100% a fake number. But there was also no Poole and no Brogdon. Now I expect Brogdon's going to be out. But I'm just not 100% in on Carrington being a must-grab play. I think you could, but I'm not in on it. The other thing we got, I can't, it's back. Yes. Shot hog Kyle Kuzma has returned. 28 points in 23 shots. The next highest amount of shots was 12 to Jared Butler. 28, 5, and 1. But he also had 2 steals and a block and shot well, which is definitely not in the usual Kuzma oeuvre. We'd been critical of Kuzma for being really just completely annoying, but also just like, bro, if you're going to be annoying, can you take some shots? And now we did. Are we going to get back into this? It's Kuzma and Poole and it's this nonsense stuff now that he's found his spot? Or, as Brian Keefe said, Kyle, sit your ass down and when Jordan's out, you can run things, but otherwise you're not. Maybe that's what's happening. I'm not sure. Revenge game from Jonas Valanciunas as he had 6 points in 20 minutes with 7 rebounds. That's right on the border, man. Because I think over 20, Valanciunas is a 12. Under 20, he's not. He got 19 minutes, 40. So that's like, okay. I don't see him being a long-term must-roster guy. He has had moments of being good and moments of being not good. Yeah, I probably would hold for now, while Sarr had 18 and 11. Good game there. I probably should talk about this Jared Butler game. He played 20 minutes. He had 17, 4, and 5. Butler is a real player. He's just on a two-way and never can seem to establish himself fully. There was no Poole. There was no Bilal. There was no Brogdon in the second half. So we were able to get more of Butler. It's a name to remember, but I'm not going to go overboard here. And then even with no Bilal, even with no Poole, Champagny started, but he had 3 points in 27 minutes on 17%. The 4 assists are nice. If the role is that many minutes, I'm okay with him being a 12-team league guy, but there were a lot of extra Dutch rudders going around on Champagny because he's just also not that good. He is fine, and when 4 or 5 guys, 3 guys, 2 guys were out, he was cooking. I'm not sure that's going to be a consistent thing for him as we move forward. The guy that started for Brogdon's second half was Keyshawn George. He had 1 point, and Corey Kispert had 5 points in 26 minutes, and I don't think we need to worry too much about those blokes just at this point. Let's look at the next game. It was the Charlotte Hornets. They were taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were in Cleveland. Cleveland gets the win to nobody's surprise, 115-105. But what we did get was the return of LaMelo Ball, the return of Brandon Miller, and they were straight back into the starting lineup, meaning Vasa Micic and Seth Curry. Seth Curry not only moved to the bench, he moved to the DMP list, which again is one of those things, what are you doing, Coach Lee? We'll talk about Melo returning. He played 33 minutes. He had 24, 3, and 4. He shot poorly, as he does. He got to the line, which he doesn't always do. But it's just good that he is back, and the same with Miller, 24, 2, and 2 with 6 threes. I hope that this little sauna sojourn is able to get them rejuvenated for the rest of the season. Cody Martin also back. He had one of the more Cody Martins you'll ever see. 8, 6, and 5 with 4 steals. It's what he does. When you stream him, this is what he does. There is something we've got to talk about, and I'll talk about in a sec. But Marky Williams played 28 minutes. Muted, but 28 minutes is 28 minutes. 11 and 9, steal and a block. That's all very good. And that meant that BDNR, Nick Richards, played 8 minutes. Oh, no. He still had 4 rebounds. I had him on the list of maybe you stream him in for rebounds, thinking you get 5 or 6. Somehow he managed 4 in 8 minutes, but if bro's playing 8 minutes, you're not even holding in a 14-teamer.
Get that garbage out of here.
Tijan Salan continues to really not do much. The 9 rebounds are fine, but he played his 23 minutes. And Miles Bridges, with the return of Miller, with the return of Ball, he was non-existent. 11 and 8. What I do want to talk about is Nick Smith. Now, Nick Smith had a few little flashes last season, but overall he's sort of been missing. But he played 19 minutes, he had 18 points, he hit 4 threes, he had 5 rebounds and a block. I'm not going to get excited about it. He shot 58% from the field. He doesn't usually even get any playing time, but he played over Vasiljevic, over KJ Simpson. It's just worth it if you are in a deep league, not even a double onyx, just a deep league. Just pay a little bit of attention to see if that flips the rotational priorities here. I think that's probably the main sort of random takeaway on that one. Yeah. The next side of the game, or the other side of the game, is Cleveland. They ran out the same lineup, and Darius Garland continues to be ridiculously good. 25, 3 and 2 with 4 threes. Donovan Mitchell continues to be ridiculously underwhelming. 19, 3 and 4. Now, I had a big fade on Donovan Mitchell this season because of the Kenny Atkinson effect. The effect was he will not play his starters 36 minutes a night, and Mitchell was going in the first round in some drafts, and it made no sense to me. But I didn't expect him to drop his usage as much as he has. So he's been even underwhelming for my lower position that I had him. Jarrett Allen, 19 and 11, sorry. Mobley had 17 and 5. So just good games from all those good players. It was a better game from Milk, 20 minutes for Ty Jerome with 2 threes, 5 assists and 2 steals. We're largely ignoring that, much like we largely ignore Karis LeVert. He had 2 points. He did have 6 assists and shot poorly. He's been, that was the other guy I was going to talk about with the shooting numbers. He's been at 45% from 3 this season. Clearly, that didn't happen here, and it is going to tail off. Or Dean Wade had been flirting with value. Max Strus flirted with value. They might as well just flirt with the pigeon lady at the park, to be honest, because what are we doing here? 6 points, 2 threes for Wadey, 9 points, 1 3 with 4 assists for Strus. You leave them on the 12-team waiver wire, and you do not look back, and you don't think any further about it. Just leave them there. Don't touch them. Just leave them alone. You don't need them. Outside of Schedule Plus type scenarios. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Big upsets, game-winning drives. The NFL playoffs are here. Well, they're basically here. And you, as a new FanDuel member, you can make the NFL playoffs so much better with FanDuel because new customers can bet $5 and you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Notice how it didn't say you win your bet because you don't have to. All you got to do is place a $5 bet as a new customer and you get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything that you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. So go ahead, check out all of the options they've got, those parlays, the futures, the props, the spreads, totals, lines, money lines. It's all there over at FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, we should be heading into looking at the next game. It is the 4th game of the day. It's the Utah Jazzmen, and there is quite a bit for us to discuss in this game. They went into Orlando, and they showed the Magic, somehow, who's boss. 105-92, not somehow. The Magic are just missing their only 3 real offensive players, so that's part of it. Although the Jazz had quite a few players not available in this one as well, as they tanked their asses off on a weekend back-to-back. No Larry Markkinen, no Johnny Collins, no Jordan Clarkson, and no Keontae George. The only guy, and I still think that it's because they don't view him that highly, that sort of survived. That's not true because Walker Kessler was there, but the only other guy that survived it was Colin Sexton. And they won. So their starting lineup, they added Isaiah Collier in to replace Keontae George. Micah Potter replaced John Collins. And the big fella, John Juzang, in there to replace Markkinen. So we'll just start with those guys. Juzang had 12 points with 2 threes in 22 minutes. Like, fine. We don't really care that much. What about with Potter, who had 3 points with a block in 21 minutes? Yeah, okay, that's not very good. What about Collier? Honestly, literally might be the worst player in the NBA this season. And not that I don't like the kid, but he might be the worst player in the league. 2, 5, and 6. No defensive stats. 13% shooting. Sucks. He's so bad. He will almost definitely improve at some point, but he is absolutely dreadful at this point. No offense to him, and I just keep saying no offense because he just is bad, and I do hope he figures it out. Svi Mykhailiuk had 12 with 3 steals. He's sort of been out of the rotation. I think most of this game we can throw away. But I know what you want, and I'm edging you. I know what you want me to say. I'm edging. I'm working the subtle art of thumb flicking. Just working it up there. because we'll talk Walker Kessler now. 10 and 17 with a block for Walker. That's pretty good, yeah? Pretty good game. And then Colin Sexton only played 26 minutes. I would have hoped for a little bit more, but 20 and 4 with 2 assists, and he didn't shoot well. And my inability to understand what the Jazz do with Colin Sexton game by game remains absolutely undefeated. I've got no idea. I can never figure it out. He might play 21 minutes next game. He might play 38. I honestly have no idea how to predict what they're going to do. And now I'll tell you about what you want to hear. That's 30 minutes from Kyle Filipowski, who had 12, 7, and 3. That's a pretty good game from Filipowski. I think that Filipowski will have some moments in March being a useful 12-team streamer, but we're not there yet. Is there anything else we need to talk about on this team? Probably. Oh, there you go, Johnny. What about Bryce Sensabaugh? 27 points for Bryce in 28 minutes. That is fantastic. So the questions have already started. Because you know what gets somebody absolutely turgid and ready to talk about a player? Scoring points. If you score points, somebody is going to take notice of you in fantasy. That is just how it works. And Bryce Sensabaugh has now dropped, 61 points in the last 2 games. Unbelievable. That's great. We love to see that from Sensabaugh. He's hit 12 threes out of his 17 attempts. His usage is 34 and 31 in those 2 games. He also had 0 assists, 0 steals, and 0 blocks in today's game. So there are a couple of ways to look at this. Is there any hope of this shooting continued? Absolutely not. Not in a million years. It will not happen. Lock it in. Guarantee. This will not happen. I assure you 100%. It won't happen. The question's going to be, do you add him anyway? Well, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical on some of this stuff because the 2 games prior to that, old mate had 9 points in 32 minutes combined. 9 points. He took 10 shots in 2 games. He still generated only 2 assists combined, no steals and no blocks, but he was putrid. These are his scoring numbers. 27, 34, 4, 5, 20, 6, 2, 8, 5, 6, 9, 9, 11, 6, 6. Like, it's bad. It's nearly always bad. But he went absolutely crazy the last 2 games. The problem with Bryce Sensabaugh is he needed 31 usage. He needed like 70% 3-point shooting. He needed 1 million players out of the way, and he still doesn't do rebounds, assists, steals, or blocks, or get to the line ever. He just doesn't get to the line. What did he attempt? He's attempted 3 free throws combined in his last 4 games. He's averaging 0.8 free throw attempts per game. So, as you're well aware, I'm not painting a very pretty picture of what Sensabaugh provides. I actually liked Sensabaugh as a prospect. I think he'd be a real dynamic scorer. But these games, I don't see this sort of thing as a realistic, not even like semi-regular outcome for Sensabaugh. It's great. And if we do have a scenario where there are 3 of the main guys out, and it is going to happen at some point, I'm into it. Except this, even in all of it, again, this is how I process fantasy, and I think it's a good way to do it. You will easily sit there, and I know there is someone screaming it. And you will sit there and you'll be like, but Josh, the Jazz are going to tank in March and April and players are going to be in and out and they're going to sit. So he's going to get opportunities and he's a young guy they want to develop. And I actually agree with you. He is a younger player. He was a first round pick last season. They do want to see what he can bring. But irrespective of all of that, he's not shooting 70% from 3. So he did the thing that can confuse our brains. He turned increased opportunity due to multiple players out and tied it up with otherworldly, impossible to recreate shooting, making it seem like, oh, those numbers are something that I'll do every time somebody is out, which he won't. Guaranteed, he won't. We also know that Will Hardy will just mix and match those lineups and rotations. If you are in a stashable format, you know the formats, roto, deep benches, weekly lock leagues. If you're in a deeper league, sure, go for it. Why not? There's no harm in it. And even if you're in a shallow league and you want this Josh guy, what a wanker. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm just going to stash because we've seen the results. It was really good. Maybe these guys just sit out all these games and you want to get ahead of it, knock yourself out. Totally fine. I'm not going to ignore those games. They're awesome. The reason and you can tell I'm not ignoring them because I'm spending 5 minutes breaking down what actually happened. But the chances of it working are marginal. No problem with going for it. But have you considered the costs? What is it costing you to do this? Who are you dropping? What are you considering in that specific spot? What did you spend fab-wise? Because It just isn't going to happen that way. And I'm very confident in that. Extremely confident he is not going to be that player. The other side of the mix is the Magic. And there was no Jalen Suggs. So Cole Anthony started. There you go. He played 28 minutes. He had 12 and 4 with no assists. He shot poorly, but then randomly got 3 blocks. They play again tomorrow, the Magic, and I don't know who's going to be available. What I am annoyed about is that they said, hey, guess what? Mr. Black is available to play. And he played a grand total of 0 minutes DMP-CD. Why? Because I have no idea. They went with Trevelyan Queen. They went with Corey Joseph. I'm going to guess it was to do with the back-to-back. And the fact that they sat him on this first game of the back-to-back despite him being available makes me think that Jalen Suggs won't play tomorrow. That could be conjecture. Is that me being a conspiracy theorist? Not really, but I guess sort of. But that's how I would view that. Cole is not providing things in great volume very clearly. And this is just one of those very weird games. Trevelyan Queen got back and played 25 minutes. He had 11, 3 and 6, 2 steals and a block. That's very good. But how do we trust it? You don't. Tristan da Silva, who's gone 20 points, 0 points, 20 points, 0 points, or the other way around. So 0, 20, 0, 20 or something like that. Decided to break it up a little bit. Instead of going down to 0, he just went down to 6. Because he is not that good. He relies on incredibly high-level shooting, and he is unbelievably inconsistent. 6 points, 9 rebounds, 27%. At least his minutes were high. Speaking of inconsistent, as for Da Silva, he's a fine guy to have just in the short term, but long term I see no value in it. KCP did the bad Richie Beno, 2 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists on 13%, while we got Caleb Houston starting and playing 25 minutes. We got 29 Goga minutes, 9, 11, and 4. And of course, with Wendell Carter coming off the bench, that means he is not allowed to play any power forward minutes. That is written in the Constitution. I believe it's the 34th Amendment because it's his number, that if he comes off the bench, he cannot play at power forward. So Wendell played 19 minutes and had 15, 6, and 2. I'm going to suggest that might be enough to get him back into the starting lineup in the next game. Not sure. All I know is I don't care to have Wendell Carter on a 12-team league at this stage. It's all realistically because there's no Suggs, which, was more important because there was no Wagner, which was more important because there was no Banchero. But honestly, I don't think these guys are going to play tomorrow. But Suggs and Banchero could actually play on Monday. More likely, they play their next game on Thursday. And any decisions you're having about Queen or the 21 points, I didn't even talk about 21 points Jet Howard had, it's just not going to mean anything. I don't think. We're toing and froing about Mr. Black or whether I hold Cole Anthony or Tristan da Silva or KCP. And it's probably done by Thursday. We don't have this discussion anymore on Thursday. It's finished. You might get one more game. And Suggs might even play in that one. I don't think he will. So for tomorrow, yeah, you can have a look at Queen. You can have a look at Anthony, who'd still be my priority. I think Black will probably play on Monday. But it's just a extremely messy scenario at this point. Sorry for going on so long about that game, but there was a lot. That's randomness on the Jazz side, randomness on the Magic side. And I hope that extra detail is useful for you. I probably could have rushed through it quicker, but I don't like just, as I extend the show, I don't like just throwing out and saying, yep, grab, yep, don't, right? Without explaining why, or the thought processes, or the stats, or the numbers, or the reasonings behind why I do it, because I don't want you to listen to me. Let me say that again, but with better phrasing instead of just making it sound controversial. I don't want you to listen to what I say and do it blindly. I don't want that. I want you to listen to me because I want us to have fun and be entertained and take all this stuff to a new level. But I don't want for me to say drop, add, unless it's Rui Hachimura where you'd get him out straight away. I don't want to say those things. I want to provide it. I want to do the work for you. I want to do the research for you. I want to provide a perspective and an opinion on things so that if I tell you about Bryce Sensabaugh, I tell you about what the hell happened with Jet Howard or Trevelyan Queen and why it happened and how these things might work in. You can go, yeah, that's cool. Don't care, Josh. I'm still going to do it. And I go, that is absolutely fantastic for you. I love that for you. Well done. Keep it going. In fact, some might say, yes, Queen. Maybe. Let's do the next game, which was pretty crazy, actually. The Rockets are up huge against the Lakers. The Lakers come back with a chance to win the game, and Fred VanVleet seals it with a steal. And the score is 119-115. We'll talk about the Lakers side of things first. They went in with an unchanged lineup. Cool. Good for them. Should we start with the most important player? Rui Hachimura had 13-1 with no assists, no steals, no blocks, and missed both of his free throws. He still remains with an 82% rostered percentage on Basketball Monsters' advanced roster number.
Get that garbage out of here.
Finney Smith, a bit better, 13-2 with 2 steals. We're still only rostering him in like probably 16 teamers. And Max Christie was solid. 14-6 with 2 threes and a steal, which is pretty good. It's actually passable. If this was a down game for Christie or an average game, you'd say that's passable in a 12. But when it's like, it's almost high end without players out, that makes him more of a streamer and a 14-team league guy. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing. AD had 30-13 with 5 blocks. LeBron had 21-13-9. You know, on my little -1 per game rolling ranking chart, I think LeBron's been like the 4th or 5th best player for the last 3 weeks, which is just actually ridiculous. Austin Reeves had 21 points, no rebounds somehow, but had 10 assists, and this run of gigantic assists from Reeves continues, and I'm not sure it slows, to be honest, because they have like 2 ball handlers, LeBron and Reeves, and nobody else can do it. So, yeah, I don't know that it holds that level. That's obviously a ridiculously high level, but it looks pretty good. Lakers' exceptionalism maintains Dalton Connect with a 17% roster rate.
Get that garbage out of here.
He went scoreless, missed all 3 of his shots, had 1 rebound in 17 minutes. He's just actually quite bad at the moment. And I say at the moment just to preclude that maybe he gets good at some point in the future in his career. But he's just bad. And while he had like a 2 or 3 game run, again, that was one of those really, really key important things to look at. It's like the shooting is out of control. He's getting way more shots and minutes than we would normally expect in this scenario. It has no chance of sticking. And it didn't. But otherwise, the Lakers, there's really not a lot going on there. The Rockets, though, this was the first game, not the first game without Jabari Smith. That was the last one, and Jeff Green started in this one. But this is the first game without Jabari Smith, but with Amen Thompson back. We still don't have Tari Eason, as who knows what's going on there. And I think we've obviously given up on Eason. I think the fact that he's been out this long, and then when he returns, he could theoretically start for Smith, even though I don't think he's ever started a game for them. It's just going to take forever to get him back to where he needs to be. So they started Amen Thompson. Amen played 41 minutes. He had 23-16. He had 58% shooting. Yeah, he was bad from the line. And he didn't even bring his regular defensive numbers. He has got the opportunity, and I've said this many times, that I think he will have multiple top 25-ish fantasy seasons. He's got a chance here to have a at least top 40 run for 2 months. Jalen Green was also great here. 33-6-4 with 5 threes. Really good stuff from him. We don't trust it, of course, because it's wildly inconsistent. But that was good. Well, Van Vliet, again, not the best game, but he played 42 minutes. He had 15 points. He had 3 threes. He had a steal. He had a block. He shot 46%, which for Fred Van Vliet is fine. But he's nowhere near the player that he was last season. The usage is down. More importantly, the assist rate is down. And that doesn't feel like it's coming back, which is one of the key things he was able to do. His minutes are still huge. But if he's not getting 7, 8 assists and getting 5 or 6, that turns you from a 3rd-round player into a 6th-round player. It's just simply what it does. We don't roster Cam Whitmore in 12-team leagues. 8 points, 2 threes, 16 minutes. It's going to need someone else out to get there. And this was not a very good game from the delicate dancer Alperen Şengün. He was bad from the field. He was bad at the line. He has low-key been struggling quite a bit of late. 14-6-4 with no defensive stats. It is a bad run for him, and can't do anything with it really, but he's just not playing super well. I worry about how he and Amen Thompson are going to coexist. It'll be interesting to see. And of course, Dylan Brooks, who'd been on a red-hot run, had 5 points in 33 minutes and shot 25% and had no steals and no blocks. And cool, you're back into the streaming territory area, Mr. Dylan Brooksy Brooks. Also very much interesting to note is that Aaron Holiday continues to get backup minutes instead of number 3 overall pick Reed Shepherd. And at the time of this NBA draft, I said that most of these guys, whatever pick they were picked at, just add 6 slots to it, and that's probably the realistic area of where they would be in a normal draft. I'm not even sure that's enough, to be honest. Would Reed Shepherd be a top 10 player in other drafts? Probably not. Steph Castle? Probably not. End of the lottery, maybe. Alex Sarr's the only one I would say top 5, maybe. Ricochet, not a chance in the world. Zach Edey went in the top 10, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know if you think it's historically bad, but it's pretty close to historically bad, this draft. Now we do the final game of the day. The Kings absolutely spanked the Golden State Warriors without De'Aaron Fox. Keegan Murray did return, and he just did a straight swap into that position for Fox, so they kept Keon Ellis in the starting lineup. Again, we still don't really know what to do with Ellis when the team is fully healthy because we don't have them there now. But that's okay. 129-99 the final score here, but it was Malik Monk who cooked. He was put into the lead guard role, and he had 26 points. He had 5 threes, he had 12 assists, he had 4 steals, he had a block. He shot unbelievably well, and he's not going to shoot that well most games, but he is unbelievably good at the moment. He's putting up big numbers and just needs to be rostered everywhere very clearly. Sabonis had 22, 13, and 7, and even Fanapants got into it. 20 minutes for Kevin Huerter, 16 points with 4 threes. I think we can largely ignore it, but he was a part of this big win. Keon Ellis, though, in this one, again, more muted. And I think this is more realistic of an expectation. 11 points, 1 3, 2 steals. Still hold for now, but more realistic. Did DeMar DeRozan get cooking? No. 12 points, 0 rebounds, 1 assist. I'm not going to say that he's bad. He's just not very good at the moment. Maybe he will become good, but it is a weird fit that continues to get worse. Keegan Murray had 11 points. He hit 3 threes. He had a steal and a block. Still nowhere near where he needs to be. And I think in shallow formats, you don't have to necessarily consider Keegan to be a must-roster player. Not much else going on there. A little bit of extra stuff for Trey Lyles. But with Keegan back, they don't need to use him as much. 7 and 9 with 2 steals there. I would be very worried if I had DeRozan. I think he's going to be better than this. But it is very clearly a worrying sign. On the Warriors side of things, we got the update earlier today, like I said, about the Jonathan Kuminga injury. And this is just ugly, man. Like, Steph played 30 minutes. He had 26 and 7. Great. But what about old mate Dennis Schroeder? 21 minutes, 3 points, 14% shooting. You know what I'm going to say.
Get that garbage out of here.
I would probably hold Trace Jackson Davis, but 0 points, 18 minutes. Steve Kerr just played everybody at least 12 because the entire fourth quarter was garbage time. We got 12 Pat Spencer minutes. We got 12 Guy Santos minutes. We got 16 minutes from Kevon Looney. We got 7 useless minutes from Buddy Hield and 5 points from Lindy Waters in 20. Draymond had 10 points. The only guy to really play well is Moses Moody. Shockingly, he's a good player, but Steve Kerr just doesn't play him enough. I wouldn't make a rash decision on this one on Jackson Davis, but we knew this would be a risk. We knew the foreseeable future curse would occur at some point. They do have to bring Brandon Podziemski back at some stage soon as well. I expect that Podziemski might be back for Tuesday's game with his issue. I still think we're holding on to Jackson Davis, but we can't just easily go ahead and say he's going to be big minutes, 25 a night, all the way through, because that's not what this team does. And things are obviously not going well, and they didn't go well in this one. I'm not really sure what more. This game was over so early that, like you can see, those minutes distributions don't really mean anything. Don't mean anything. Let's do some awards. We'll get into that part of the show. Let's do it right now. I'll just move that out of my way. All right, let's do it. Monstrous line of the night. A couple of guys in consideration for this, but in the end, it does go to Malik Monk, who had 26. He had 12 assists. He shot well. He had 4 steals. It was a fantastic performance from Monk. The waiver wire line of the night, it is also the same player who is the young gun of the night. It is Carlton Carrington. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. There was no Poole. There was no Brogdon. And Carrington shot 67%. So a number of factors working towards him doing this. Again, if you want to have a look at it and you want to take a crack at Carrington, by all means. I'm just not ready to be convinced with it. And then we had 2 really strong guys battling for the dud of the night. Did Dennis Schroeder get it? No, because Peyton Pritchard did. 0 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist for Pritchard. Schroeder was pretty close, man. He had 2 and 3. And I am holding Pritchard, but I don't think necessarily that you have to hold onto Dennis Schroeder. The top 6 players, the category leagues, points leagues, waiver wire guys, let's take a look at those ones now. Your top 6 today, number 1 was Monk, and closely followed by was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, then Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Jalen Green, and Domantas Sabonis. Your top 6 waiver wire players of the day, like I said, number 1 was Carrington. Cody Martin did the Cody Martin thing. You're probably just looking at him more of a 14-team league guy. Bryce Sensible, we went into big depth about that. Nick Smith, we watch it to see what they do with that backup guard spot, but it was impressive. Kevin Huerter, really nice game in a blowout, and then Wendell Carter, and I don't think we need to make moves on those guys outside of schedule plus type scenarios. if we look at the Yahoo points top 6, it's very similar to the category top 6, to be honest. It's Shea, Anthony Davis, Malik Monk, LeBron James, Jalen Green, and Domantas Sabonis. So by very much similar, it's exactly the same, just in a different order. And then for ESPN points, guess what? It's also the same. Monk, Shea, Davis, Sabonis, Jalen Green, and LeBron James. We had a few players leave early in this one due to injury and not return. In this slate of games. Cam Reddish left with a back problem. It doesn't really matter, but it just gives a little bit more extra room for Max Christie. Malcolm Brogdon left with a foot, and that's Bub Carrington who steps up there. And then Trey Murphy with the ankle. I'm guessing it's BJ Boston, but all that could be neutralized, of course, by the potential return of Zion Williamson coming up soon. I guess. Maybe. So, that will bring us in to look at where my leagues are. For some reason, some of you guys like seeing how my leagues are going. Some of them are going well. Some of them are going really badly. Let's start with Industry Pickup, with the Auction League. For Industry Pickup, you saw me record the auction draft and put it up. I knocked off the top team last week, and that was Kingy. This time, I went up against Kyle McEwen from Basketball Monster, and I knocked him off 5-4. Happy to get that victory. We was looking a little bit shaky earlier in the week, but I pulled through on steals and free throw percentage. The other matchups this week, Karan Talwar beat Jake from Trash Talk. Angle Fantasy Basketball smashed Alec Burns 8-1. Josh and Evan beat Joel Bartolotta. Willie Cleaver beat Sam and Liam 5-3-1. And Kingy won 6-3 over Mitch Casey. So the standings, I was 5th. I'm still 5th. Bloody hell. So it is Josh and Evan on 50 wins. Karan on 49. Me on 49, Willie on 48, Joel on 48. And then Angle and Kingy both on 52. It is extraordinarily tight here in these standings. Crazy. 7 of us within 3.5 games. Well, yeah, that's really, really tight. Let's look at some of the other leagues and see which ones I'm doing badly in, which ones I'm doing okay in. The Immaculate Pivot League, that was the other auction draft that I put out there. We are going really badly in that one. A 2-7 loss to Karan in that league. My FBI World Cup team, I'm pretty sure I didn't do well here. I've got can't make up for the injuries there. I think I'm cooked in that league. Because that is almost over, that league. That's 3-6 loss there. The head-to-head Roto Combination League with a bunch of other analysts. That one I'm continuing to cook in. Let's see how I did. 6-3, 8-1, 7-2, 7-2, 7-2, 6-3, 6-2-1, 7-2, 6-3. I'm miles ahead. Yeah, 84-15. Wow, 85% winning percentage. Jesus, I don't think I've ever had a better team than that. That's got to be my best team. That team is absolutely flying. Let's look at the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl Category League situation. We have 2 matchups a week in that one. I'm sort of middle pack, I think, maybe. How did I go? Oh, a 7-2 win and a 5-4 win. So that's double W's there for me. I don't know where the standings are. Let's have a look where I'm at in the standings. I think I'm in the Navy division here. Where am I in the Navy division? It'll eventually load, I'm sure. No, I'm actually 11th. Wow, that's terrible. Am I far away? Nah. What am I? 6 wins out of a 9th. Yeah, I've actually dropped off a bit there. That's annoying. That's all right. We'll get back. And then the Points League. I think I'd won 3 or 4 weeks in a row on the Points League. Let's see how we went today. My 2 matchups there. Loss and loss. Lost both of them this week. That's a disappointing result there as well. But so I feel like there's almost no middle ground here. I'm either going unbelievably well or I am down struggling at the bottom. It doesn't seem to be really any middle ground at all. That's okay. We move, and there's still weeks to go. We'll catch up. And that's where we're at with Industry Pickup and with my leagues and with Sunday. Tomorrow we'll have an injury report show, we'll have a Tuesday preview show, and a Monday recap show. That's all happening like it usually does. And remember, it is National Cuddle Up Day, so give someone a good old cuddle up. And if you want to cuddle up to this show, give it a subscribe. Leave your comments down below as well. Guys, week 1 of 2025 is basically done. Hope it started off well for you. If it hasn't, well, there's 51 of them to go. Pick out a good thing, work on the good thing, improve on the good thing. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.